Recording. Hey everybody, I'm Zube.
I'm Alyson.
Yeah, this is Earthling Chat, and today, well, yeah. So we kind of want to talk about what was it we were going to talk about? I remember, but I don't know how to sum it up.
So it was something I had thought of last week because we had a lot of customers into the shop that were very afraid to ask questions or apologetic about asking questions, and almost wanting to make sure they did their spirituality the right way, and then turning to the internet, which, don't get me wrong, I love the age of the internet. You can learn a lot of stuff really quickly, but there's a lot of stuff and there's a lot of experts now. And I think it confuses people and they forget how personal spirituality and faith should be. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. And I think it's neat for people to like listen to folks talk about how really easy it is instead of how complicated it can be. Like, so I'm hoping there's, whoever listens to us at some point is one of those people that goes, oh, I hope I'm not playing with my crystals the wrong way,
Right, right. Okay, I love that. No, I mean, yeah. First of all, you work at a store of A Muse in Boerne. We'll just like throw that out there, Boerne, Texas, and you guys are awesome. But by and large, okay, first of all, I've never walked into a store where the people were not helpful and not willing. Not that that could be like, I'm sure there are exceptions to every rule, but anybody, whenever I've gone into a store, has been willing to answer questions. But like, I get it, that timidity, like being nervous or feeling like you're going to ask something dumb, I get it.
And I think sometimes they look at us and they think we have all the answers. And it reminds me of several years ago when I was in ministry. I used to be a Presbyterian youth minister,
which I love.
I've worn a lot of hats,
which I love.
a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And people assumed the second I got into that role as a paid professional, I knew everything. I knew all the answers. I knew how to fix your marriage. I knew how to pray for you for all the right things. And it was very daunting because it's, I'm just a human being too, figuring shit out every day. And some days I really got it. And some days I don't have anything.
And I mean, that's the thing, is we're all just human, I did a reading last night, and they were asking me, like, how do you know that spirit is talking to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes it's made to seem really complicated, so that people can feel special, right? But
yeah,
it's not actually that complicated. You know what I mean? Like, it does take a lot of work to kind of quiet your mind. But there's a very discernible difference in your spirit coming forward and saying something and your mind spinning stuff, like, do you have any like advice on that? Because
I don't know if you'd call it advice.
yeah, I mean, I didn't know what
I do know what you're talking about, because it still happens now when just in conversations with folks, especially when they come in to ask a question. But I used to have this feeling when I was doing a sermon or teaching a lesson or even just having an intimate conversation with somebody. It was almost like a shift. I was like, all right, I'm going to try to explain this or try to help you. And then something would happen as I'm speaking to them where I'm like, I'm just not this smart, this is not me. this has got to be something, some divinity, some higher power, some spirit coming through saying, hey, let me help you out because you have the intentions, you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to help these people. So here we go, and then when I'm done, I'm like, man, I learned something in that too. That's
Right.
cool. But it appears to them, their perception is that, well, shit, you just had all the answers. And you're like, no, I was open to the fact that I didn't actually. And
Yeah.
I was receiving guidance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It, the same happens for me too. I mean, that's what channeling is. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of what, because I know sometimes in a reading, like I can always tell the difference. And with reading cards, I know the meaning of the cards, right?
Yeah.
So like that does come from my brain and memory. Um, but there will be like pieces that come in and I'm kind of like, well, where did that come from? Because that's not even affiliated with that card. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it happens to be something that resonates. And
Yeah.
it, yeah, you can just, it just kind of, it comes in differently. I don't know. And
It does. It feels very different. It's like you're receiving the information as at the same time that you're relaying it to that person.
mhm,
If that, I don't know if that makes sense.
mhm.
So
It totally does.
I
Yeah.
break it down advice wise to telling people, be open,
Mhm,
be willing to admit and acknowledge that we don't have all the answers,
mhm,
and be open to receiving whatever that is,
right.
instead of boxed into whatever whatever you think, because I've every time I thought I figured it all out, I'm never done. I'm
Right.
always learning something new. I'm always evolving and changing and kind of turning into a better version of myself every year. It's really weird.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. I remember I read cards for somebody that I kind of still look to as a teacher. And and the first time that they ever asked me to read their cards, thank God I didn't have any time. Like it was just like an immediate, can you read my cards? And so I did it because if I had had time to prepare, I would have shit myself. You know what I mean? Like that's how much I like looked up to them. And what was humbling about it is that we're always in process. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh wow, no, like nobody's ever done, no
No.
matter. And so, yeah, and it any okay, so also along this journey, I guess everybody has moments of maybe non-humility. We all like lose our way a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but if anyone is ever dismissive or something like that of someone else asking an authentic question or being vulnerable, um, that's not spiritual. You know what I mean? Like,
That's that difference between like ego and spiritual kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
And unfortunately, I think every time you try to do something good, there's usually followed by some kind of resistance or obstruction that's going to try to mess it up. And there's a lot of people right now that are searching for deeper meaning. They're searching within themselves, they're searching for community. And that's great. But that kind of negative side of it can facilitate people who fall into that ego trap and try to tell those people who are searching exactly how to do something.
Mhm,
And then they're like I said, there's a lot of experts now.
mhm,
You know, I've never seen in my entire life so many classes and courses and certifications when it comes to spirituality. And that's good
mhm.
if your ego is in check
Yeah,
and you want other people to open up and grow spiritually and ascend just like you did. You don't want to be up here while they're down here learning like little minions. That's not community.
That's
That's not
not,
spirituality.
yeah. Well, and that's the hard part too, because I think you had mentioned that someone came into the store and they were clearly not well versed, which is, remember when you were
Yeah.
mentioning that
Yes.
customer and yet they were charging someone else or something?
They
Just-
were, what it was is I was trying to explain, they were asking a lot of questions about different crystals and how to burn sage, you know, what do you do with this crystal? How should I hold it? What hand should I hold it in? You know, lots of specifics, you know. And I was trying to kind of give them the freedom to explore, how do you want to do it? What makes sense to you? What feels right to you? And I told them, you can look up a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there on any one crystal, any type of herb you want to burn, or ways to cleanse your home using smoke cleansing or whatever. There's a lot of stuff. But they weren't quite receiving this allowance I was giving them to say, do you, you know, follow yourself in here. And finally I said, okay, imagine you go to church and you're sitting there listening to the sermon, right?
Mm,
And they can be anywhere from 10 minutes to a half hour, depending on your denomination, man. And
right.
in that time frame, you might get one or two things out of that sermon that you're like, yes, that was for me.
Mhm,
That's why I came here today, because I needed, that was for me. The
mhm.
whole thing's not for you.
Right, right.
That's
I'm
ridiculous.
Catholic, so
That's
that could be
ego.
like an hour
You
and a
know, well, I
half.
came because you need to serve me. We're the whole group. No kidding, right? Yeah, I went to Catholic high school, and those
Yeah,
you better be waiting for your moment, because
right.
it'd be a while. Yeah, but I feel like that's
Exactly.
kind of how it's like the internet, or going to people to learn different things. Pick what works for you,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, it's, I mean, it's like for me, okay, so stuff either speaks to me or it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So I like crystals. I have crystals, and people think I'm an expert. I am by no means an expert. Like, and I'll tell you, I have a few that I'm really familiar with, right? And stuff like that. Um, Also, I love memes about witchcraft, but I'm not a witch. It doesn't resonate with me. You know, the kind of stuff that resonates with me is that like Egyptian stuff I'm really drawn to. And so it's really such a personal thing. So like trust what draws you in is what I
Mhm.
would tell, is what, you know what I mean? I want to say to people, like
Yeah.
what feels
Because
right
if
to
I
you.
tell somebody how to do things exactly how I do them, it may not have the same effect on them as me. Because like I align really well with, old world paganism, a lot of that nature based stuff
Hmm.
and holistic things. And um but I don't like I'm not going to sit and I'm not going to be like the type of person that wants to go do a spell or something, or
Right,
have spell jars. I don't understand those. That doesn't make sense to me. And as cool as it sounds, and I'm like, that would be rad if I could do that. I
right,
know if I went to do it, I'd be like, this means nothing to me.
right,
Versus
right.
if I just sit there and meditate and I say, this is what I'm manifesting, this is what I'm doing, this
Mhm.
is what I want. I'm going to put that out there. That to me means more in my soul than doing something, but some people need to do. And
Mhm.
they like that, building little things and having that ritual. And I kind of feel like a lot of it's the same root
Right,
system. It's just different. Think of the tree of life, it's all
right.
whatever, man.
No, totally. I mean, yeah, it's like what appeals to you. It just goes back to there is not a right way. You know what I mean? Like for me, I picked up an astrology book when I was like 12 years old
Yep.
and was super into it, and so I don't know, like past life or whatever. And you don't even have to believe in
Yeah.
past lives. Like, so, what,
No.
like, but if you believe that you had a soul, well, your soul came in here with certain information and wanting to learn certain things. So like that can be how you get around the past life thing, you know.
Mhm.
It's like, well, what did your soul come in here armed with, or that you would feel familiar with, that would have you reach out to like different things? And yeah, but asking questions, and I guess I do kind of want to go back to the vulnerability thing, and how people can be cautious. Okay, ready, what can they do to make sure that they're not taken advantage of? Because I think maybe that's another place that the hesitance might come from. You know what I
I know
mean?
what you mean. I think it's good to ask questions. It's good to find new friends and community and look up and read all the stuff you want to read about. But the second, you got to have your red flags,
Mhm.
in your own self. Like, what's your warning sign when it's invading your space or it's starting to control or manipulate? You
Mhm.
know, for me, if I felt like, I'm gonna think of how to word this. Let's say I make a new friend and I feel like they know a whole lot more about paganism than I do. So I'm like, let me learn from you. You learn from your great grandmother and you have her little book that she hand wrote. This is awesome. I would jump all over that. Like, let me read that thing. But if I started to feel like I had to change the way I acted or dressed or spoke or anything in order to interact with that person, that's a red flag to me, because that means instead of trying to grow myself in the way I want to, now I'm trying to be whatever this person's perception of me should be, instead of two people sharing information and growing together. You know, if you change on your own, great, we're going to do that, you know, but if I stopped and was kind of delaying my own thought process to make sure it was okay with that person and they were proud
That's
of me or they thought it was cool, like, that's not good.
right.
That's one of my red flags.
Yeah. If you feel, if yeah, if it feels like you're putting on a show, or like you have to impress somebody, that's,
Yeah.
yeah. Another one, well, and I always tell people like get referrals, you know what I mean? Because like even with Reiki, I remember somebody said to me when I was reading cards, um, that she was like, oh, just go online and get the Reiki codes and do Reiki. Like, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's how people think though. You know what I mean? Because,
Mhm.
um, and I would never do that, but people would, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it actually scared me away from getting Reiki done, until I met and got to know somebody who did it, and it was freaking amazing, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but you know, and like when I read cards, I will tell somebody if I don't feel like I'm getting a connection, you know,
Mhm.
like and so it's kind of like um also, yeah, even someone that you, well, especially somebody that you are like paying money.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't feel like they should tell you what to do. I've had my cards read, and you know, I immediately get turned off when somebody is like, oh, you have to. It's like,
Yeah.
you're getting a little like,
That's that control thing, Yeah,
yeah,
I don't like that either.
yeah.
You said something and it caught my attention and I'm trying to think of what it was now. Um, oh, okay. When you said something about when you do a reading for someone and if you're not like feeling it, you're just going to tell them. I think that's an awesome like sign that you are on the right path if you met somebody that you're learning from or that's trying to help you, because I think it's unrealistic for us to believe and expect ourselves to always be on point, you know?
Yeah.
I don't wake up every day and feel like this I'm like one of the greatest spiritual advisors in the world. No, I'm telling you, more often than not, I wake up and I'm like, man, I don't know.
Right.
I got a cup of coffee. I'll be right with you, you know? Like it's so that might be another kind of sign that if somebody always is like has all the answers, that's nobody does, man. Everybody's going to have their off days or off moments or just not making that connection where they're not, you might be open trying to receive, but nothing's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That
That's okay. That doesn't mean you messed up. You got an F in card reading class. Like,
right. Exactly. Exactly. It I mean it reminds me of like I've been in and out of therapy, you know what I mean? Um and when I was younger, I had one counselor who in retrospect was actually pretty terrible, you know, and just and wasn't helpful. But I was young and I didn't say anything. And then I had a counselor later that I really liked, and she would, you know, but in our very first meeting, she was like, if you don't feel comfortable with me or if we don't connect, not everybody does. You know what I mean? Some people are not, and it's not a judgment either. It's like if you're not connecting with somebody, um, that's not a big deal. You know what I mean?
yeah, you don't have to
Like,
take it personally.
right. And anyone who's professional should understand that, you
Yes.
know, like, yeah. Or
Yes.
because I don't I don't want to read. It's like I used to work at a hotel and we did weddings and there would be some brides and I could and grooms, will be fair, it was brides. But mostly. But and I would be like, oh my goodness, like we are very low key, like they just do not want to get married here because they're like they want more, they have higher expectations. Um and so I wouldn't try to like sell it to them. Now, some businesses don't work that way. If anybody is hardcore trying to get you to like pay them to do spells or telling you that like you need all this extra stuff done, um, I don't feel that's authentic. And I know that's some people's business model, but that's not mine.
Right. I know. I know exactly what you mean. Like I've
You
had
know?
um customers come in and they're searching for certain things or whatever. And the first thing I ask them is, you know, like, well, not always the first thing, but especially if they're like, I want crystals for this or I want this for that. Well, what's your budget? Like, what are you working with here? You know, because I'm not going to, there's a way to do it, you
Mm,
know? And I don't force a whole bunch of shit on people if they're brand new to stuff because maybe that's not your thing, you
yeah.
know? Like if you've never burned sage before, how do I know you're going to like the smell of it or you're going to like the whole ritual of it? So why would I be like, here, buy all this shit at once?
Mm,
No, just try it. See if it's your thing. If it's your thing, then there's all this other cool shit you can get into also. It's fun. But oh, I like to let people kind of explore at first, especially if they don't have a niche that's their thing, you know.
mhm,
Not all of it is for everybody.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody told me years ago to pick the meat off the bones when you're listening to a conversation or reading or something. So like everybody kind of eats their like meat on a bone, like in their own little way. You know, everybody has their little tick. Like pick your pieces off that you want.
I
That's for
love
you.
that.
Okay. Yeah.
I love that. And the coolest part is that you literally, I don't feel you don't need any of it. Like that's why Taoism speaks to me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I like to have my pieces that make me feel connected. And, you know, I choose rituals that I like, but that is only because I'm in a human body and I like stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just like
I
stuff.
love I just like this. Like that's how simple it is though, right?
It is.
That's how simple it is. I like this. That's it. I like this. Ta-da!
Right? I mean, yeah, there's nothing you have to do, or what makes you feel good, is what it all boils down to.
Mm-hmm. I know. I used to tell people all the time when I worked in the church, there's no wrong way to pray, because that was a big
Right.
thing. Right? What if you say the wrong words? Nobody wanted to pray out loud. It was like terrifying. You might as well have asked somebody to go streak across the sanctuary naked, oh my God, it's okay. Everybody was always worried about doing something the wrong way. And I always liked kind of nudging people.
You guys.
Oh, you're back. I lost
I
you for
am. That was so
okay.
weird.
Very weird.
I can't see you though.
You can't see me?
There you are. Okay.
I couldn't see you at first. I was like, what?
Anyway.
Okay.
Hi, Spirit. I don't know. It's not even Mercury retrograde yet.
Nope.
Anyway, what you were saying, oh yeah, when you were in the church and all that. That, yeah, there's no right way. That was
That was it, yeah.
okay.
That's where we were.
That's where we were. Okay, good.
I don't know where we're going now, but that's where we were.
Exactly. Okay, ready? So is there an area where you still feel vulnerable? Maybe that I can go first. Mine is
Yeah.
I still don't like to, when I'm alone, I talk out loud to my guides. I literally have a constant conversation like going on with the spirit world. But when I'm with other people, even when I do a card reading, I still do my intention prayer in my head. I have this weird thing about being heard, speaking to the invisible world by other people. It's a hang up. It's like
Yeah.
that's kind of my thing. Like I just feel awkward, because I've thought about, well, like leading full moon rituals or whatever. And I just have this weird thing about going into prayer with where other people can hear me, and that's kind of what you were talking about,
Yeah.
I think.
And I used to share that same vulnerability, and in some situations I still do.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully I have the gift of gab. So
Mm-hmm.
once I kind of jump off the diving board with that, I do pretty well with it, and I'm grateful for that. But I tell you, at first, it was terrifying,
Yeah.
but it's just one of those things. The more you do it, the more you're comfortable with it, I guess. I think, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't
No,
know.
and that,
I'm not sure what really makes me uncomfortable, except I guess maybe people assuming that I have some kind of expertise just because I'm into one or two other things. And then I always kind of feel like bad that I don't know what they're
mhm.
looking for. You know what I mean? Like, don't know how to do Reiki or anything. Like, I don't know anything about that. I've had it done once, but I couldn't tell you what they're doing or how to do it. And I kind of feel like sometimes like people feel like they're let down, or else I should know because I know this or that. And I kind of need to let that go too, and just accept that it's okay if it's not my thing. That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair too. And I also feel like anybody who's genuine would tell you they don't know. Like,
Yeah. I
you
don't
know what I
know.
mean? Nobody is, it's not even possible to be an expert on everything, even just having to do
No.
with this. you know?
Exactly. And I think, the other day I kind of came up with something and wrote something on my own social media about allowing myself to not feel so good sometimes and not feel like I'm on. Because if I try to force it, when you're not really getting those downloads or you're not really getting what you're trying to receive, I got to just admit it and be like, this is not my day.
Right,
I can't help you, in the way you want to be helped, or I can't even help myself the way I want to be helped today. And
right,
just allow myself to take a break.
right.
Yeah.
Well, we are at about a half an hour. That was amazing.
That's pretty good. We did good, except for our one little weirdness.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was 30 seconds. It was super quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, well, I will see you tomorrow. Oh yeah, if anybody watches this and you're in Boerne, Texas, I'm gonna be
Yeah. You
reading
should come.
cards tomorrow at the of a Muse shop. So
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. We're gonna love it.
yay. All right. I'm gonna press stop here. Namaste, people.